From LALATE News headquarters in Santa Monica, this is the Midday Report on LALATE.
It's a big midday, live from Santa Monica with a great update about your fourth stimulus check of 2021. Pass a $3.5 trillion recon passing the House Budget Committee. Those cluster checks getting in there for hazard pay, seniors, workers, adults, children, and more. I'll go over all the incredible big monies that are being paid out to you. Loaves of bread, or programs, as the progressives called it, over the weekend. Then we go to the big exciting details, as those monthly IRS stimulus checks are still the talk of those Democrats. No less than 1,000 viewers told over the last few weeks and reassured in the last few days it's going in there. Then we turn to the big exciting exclusive, as now this channel is part of the discussion to get that recon over the finish line. The word exclusive you're going to hear on this channel. Then we'll turn to what the president said over the weekend, not once, but 3 times, giving not 1, but 3 wins to you and the recon, and those moderates, and those progressives protecting the recon. Then we turn to the big exciting details, as the progressives make very clear that the recon is a series of programs, sort of like a loaf, and we're not going to do half a loaf, we're going to do the whole loaf. And you're not going to take one of the loaves out of the recon anywhere. You're getting every penny that is in that recon passed, and have all the incredible details, every loaf at a time, as we go into the deliciousness at noontime. Hey, good noontime, everybody. I hope you're having a beautiful day, and hope the weather is good where you are. It is beautiful here in Southern California. Get a little warm. The surf is up, and so is the carbohydrates. Because guess what? Every loaf that is in that recon, it says Sheila Jackson, the vice chair of the Progressive Caucus, is staying in there. They're not doing a half loaf, and they're not removing any loaf at all. So guess what? Lots of carbohydrates ready for you in this recording. We'll go over the IRS monthly stimulus checks and the Democrats' promise to include it in there, and that promise is still being upheld. We'll go over all the incredible news as the president sets a situation at hand. The roads and bridges must go together with the recon, not one or the other. The president's message loud and clear. We'll go over all these clusters of checks passed. Cluster number 1, 2, and 3, every cluster you need to know, and the incredible details of all these checks that you get. Then the big exciting details, as now this channel is part of the equation for the passage of the recon. What happened? I'll have all these details and more as we go into a big day with so much happening direct from Santa Monica. I'm live here, and I'm excited for you to join me, and this is LA. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this channel. 3 weeks ago, well, actually now it's 2 weeks ago, a House Budget Subcommittee passed your $3.5 trillion recon, and I immediately delivered all the details, all the programs in there, all the checks, all the loaves. Broadcast media never covered it. Print media never covered it. YouTube channels don't even know it existed. I delivered all the details for you, and every nuance by the hour, by this day, as the news cycle changed. That's why you want to be part of this channel. Subscribe, like the video, and consider becoming a member. Let's cut to all the details going over in this video. First, we'll be going over each of the clusters passed. The first, the second, and the third in this recon. Then the cluster for that IRS stimulus check that the Democrats still represent, they're adding in there. Then we'll go over how the progressives made very emphatically clear over the weekend, beautifully clear, that the recon has lots of different programs, and that no program is getting removed ever at all. So what was passed is happening. That is what's coming to you. So what are they going to modify? I'll show you what they're going to modify on the back end, not your money. Then we'll go to why this channel is now critical to the passage of the recon. It's exclusive. And then to over the third stimulus. And with that, let's start with the first cluster passed. Cluster number 1, hazard pay, money for seniors, children, grants for college students, cars, bikes, home repairs, and let's get to those MSCs of 51,000. Wow. Hazard pay got in there. They took the earned income tax credit, an old tax code, broadened the eligibility so more people qualify for it as essential workers, and increased the amount of money. Then they got in there home repairs. If you live in a low-income household, a low-income community, there'll be free money to repair the home. $4,000 to care for an elderly person got in there, and $4,000 to care for a young child. And what about students? Yes, college students will get grants from the university to themselves, and also the Pell's grant made tax-free. $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks got in there as well. It's the CTC, the child tax credit, broadening the eligibility and also increasing the time frame. First, they made non-biological parents qualify for the money as well. And then they made it over 18 years. How much is this? Let's go over the details. It's up to $300 every month, every year, to up to 18 years. If that household remains a low-income household per child, that's $51,000. Then they got money in there for bikes, cars, and trucks, all electric, all U.S. auto manufacturer. First, up to 15% for the purchase price of a new electric bike. Then, up to $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric car. Then, a little bit more if the car is for business use, and a little bit more if it's a truck. Wow. In a second, we're going to go to cluster number 2, 3, and those IRS checks. But first, let's take a detour to third stimulus for just a second. Third stimulus got additional cash infusion of additional $13 billion for the federal government for rent, utilities, and mortgage assistance, and this is what we needed. This additional sums of money are incredible. Treasury is happy to provide the state and local governments with these additional resources to Americans in time of need. That's the Treasury statement that if you're a member, it's in the newsletter. More about how to get this money later in the video. Final 15 minutes of this video, stay to the very end. We got a lot coming up. Time for the second cluster of checks passed. These start with the family leave and medical leave. Remember, forced stimulus recon has nothing to do with the pandemic. Forced stimulus recon paid everywhere, every state, red, blue, seniors, everyone, SSI, and everyone gets this forced stimulus recon if you're eligible for the money. And this paid family leave, paid medical leave, how much? $70,000 or more, that's $1,700 per week on the third stimulus. Wow. So it's likely to be the same. Let's split it in half. $35,000 annual salary, $800 a week. Yes, a week. $400 a week if you make $15,000 or more per year. Wow. Paid family leave, that means you have to stay home because the wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay home because the son broke his leg. They got no less than 11 other checks in there as well. And what are they? Childcare checks, then household tax credit checks, then checks for seniors like dental, vision, and hearing, and Medicare eligibility age. More about that in the third cluster. Then they got checks in there to weatherize your home. Definitely needed if you have those moderate Democrats on the roof. Remember the old adage, keep the moderate Democrats out of the house. And maybe the Senate as well. There you go. Nancy, lock the door. Then we got a free pre-kindergarten, and then tuition-free community college. Definitely needed for that viewer that always says, I don't understand what the world you're saying, 101. You know, now you can take that class called What the World You Saying, 101. It's offered, and it's for people who want to be bilingual in that foreign language called Los Angeles. There we go. In a second, we're going to go to the third cluster of checks. But what's Congress doing? Well, Congress is currently meeting and talking about the recon and the roads and bridges. What you need to know is the president gave you not 1, 2, but 3 wins last week and reassured those wins yesterday and Saturday. What were those wins? 1, he blocked the vote on the roads and bridges on Thursday. 2nd, he blocked the roads and bridges vote on Friday. Number 3, Friday afternoon, he says, I blocked the vote and I will continue to block the vote on the roads and bridges until you agree to the recon. Saturday, he told members of the press on the South Lawn of the White House, there will be no vote on the recon until I say so. We're not setting a time frame. We are not setting a date. Somewhere around Saturday, Nancy Pelosi issued a statement that sort of may have been interpreted as meaning there's a vote set on the roads and bridges by Halloween. Well, the president walked back that statement on Sunday. You're going to see later in this video. He said, no, we do not have a date. So do not misinterpret someone's words. There is no date. And I'm repeating it again. There's no date. We're doing this when we got it done. Wow, that's incredible. Great news for protecting your recon again. But now, time for the third cluster checks. They got those in there. And these are checks that the president wanted in there. Their deliciousness. Checks for free school meals for all. Checks, tax break checks. Checks for cheaper prescription medication. Checks for farmers. Checks for free internet. Checks for Mitch's helicopter. We've not heard Mitch's helicopter since 2020. Remember Mitch's helicopter from outside? I think you could pick it up on the microphone. It checks for green energy. It checks for free internet. Checks for workers like independent contractors. Checks for Medicare. Checks for seniors like dental, vision, hearing, and lowering eligibility age for Medicare. The president likes this cluster because the checks are instant savings to you, and I like it as well. First, the cheaper prescription medication than the internet. Cheaper prescription medication. How would this work? Let's say you go to the pharmacist today, into the pharmacy, see the pharmacist says, "Hi, Mr. Pharmacist, I have a headache." "Oh, really? Listening to the moderate Democrats too much?" "Yeah. What do you have the solution for that? What solution do you have for that, Mr. Pharmacist?" "Voting them out of the midterms." "No, I mean a prescription." "Oh, yeah, pharmacist with your jokes today." "Yeah, no, I need a prescription." Yeah, here it is, and pay for it, two $20 bills out of your wallet. Then, after this becomes law, and I guess the moderates and Democrats are still in office, then you have to refill the prescription. You may only have to take one $20 bill out of your wallet. Then they're going to have they're going to have free internet. Yeah, free internet. Except maybe in Arizona, maybe they just sort of need to turn one person's internet off. They can have free internet across the country. Every red, blue, and rich and poor state will have it. They can have fortunate cities and counties and states. They can offer you free internet. All you have to do is ask, what's the username and the password? Username is DC Reese, and password is Goth Gang. Go get them. Go get out of here, or something like that. Anyway, there you go. In a second, we'll go over the big exciting details of that exclusive. We'll go over what the president is doing and why there's a loaf. And every program detailed in these three packages, these three clusters, are loaves, are programs, and that there will be no half loaf and there will be no loaf removed. I'll explain those incredible details, but first let's cut to those IRS monthly stimulus checks. Wow. The great news is that over the last 8 weeks, 1,000 plus viewers have been told by Senate and House Democrats, generally progressives, that they're inserting that IRS stimulus check provision in there. Well, this last week they said the same thing as well. After I said for you to continue to advocate after the passage of the recon, those senators continue to say the same thing. In fact, Chuck Schumer's office said on Wednesday, right when they were about to vote on the roads and bridges, he told Donnie's wife it's going in there. Bernie Sanders' office confirmed it 3 times last week, Omar Jalapal and AOC as well. It's important to remember that when the recon was passed in that House Budget Subcommittee, Nancy Pelosi and the president immediately issued a statement saying it's not a bill. It's a work in progress. You want to add stuff in there? You can add stuff in there. Ironically, because that's what Pelosi had told viewers of the channel before the vote. And that is what they said this week as well, adding things in there. And I want to add more loaves, more programs to the recon, you can, but they're not removing any loaves. I have all those incredible details and more about those stimulus checks, that world exclusive, and more. It's all coming up in the second half of this video. We got a lot coming up, so stay the final 15 minutes of the video. I'll be back with you in 60 seconds as New Time Ballet continues. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now at noontime, live from Santa Monica. I hope the weather is good where you are. Jump in the live chat and tell me where you're tuning in from and how the weather is. Exciting details as we go into the second half of this video, as now the Democrat caucus, specifically the Progressive Caucus, says, you know what? We ain't removing anything from the recon. I'll explain to you how they can still modify things but not remove things. It's fascinating, and you're going to learn it at noontime. Then we'll be turning to what the president said yesterday and what the president said Friday and what he's saying this week. It's great news across the board. We'll be turning to third stimulus, and then we'll be turning to why you, the viewers of this channel, why this channel has now been critical as an ingredient for the passage of the recon. It's all happening at noontime, and with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers are YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. We got a lot of big shows coming up today with the news cycle changing on the hour by the hour. We have Afternoons LA coming up at 1 o'clock. This video will automatically take you there. Then the 3 o'clock Afternoons LA, and then the 5 o'clock, all new today. And with that, subscribe, like the video, and consider becoming a member. Let's cut to the big exciting details that shocked everyone on Sunday and still happening today. On Sunday, we learned a massive development, and the development concerned me, you, and this channel. What happened? 8 weeks ago, I told viewers of this channel to pick up the phone and advocate for the inclusion of stimulus in that recon, and you did. And then 3 weeks ago, I said, pick up the phone and advocate to Bernie Sanders' office after he had told brother Joshua that he wanted to hear your support for that recon. We now know it was a little bit different, that he didn't want to just hear the support for himself, but to hear the support so that he could show the support to other people. At the time, I told you, you need to flood those offices, Warren, Schumer, Sanders, Coons, Casey, so that they can go to meetings and say, have you gotten the phone calls from LA viewers? I have. And boy, are they impressive. So that they would talk about you. I specifically said to advocate. Advocacy looks as the following, saying why your situation is unique and why you want to tell your story. This is what happened to your family, your home, your community, your church, your brother, your sister. And this is why you need this stimulus. And to be very professional, respectful, and kind, and be very very passionate in your advocacy. Well, this is what's happened. A top aide to Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont told one of the viewers over the last few days that Sanders' office in D.C. is now keeping track of all the LALATE phone calls for advocacy of stimulus. They're keeping logs of this for the voicemails, for the emails, and from the conversations with staffers in which you've advocated for it, indicating the state and what your story is. And to showing that advocacy, they're now showing that advocacy to the other side. The reason why is that Sanders' office said that the advocacy was so impressive, so broad scale, that they now want to show that advocacy to any detractor who says, maybe you don't need this stimulus. Maybe Americans aren't asking for the stimulus. Why? Because you represent all Americans. Remember, this channel is a news channel. It's been a news channel since day one. LA has always been a news channel. And it's not politically affiliated. Viewers of this channel are Republican and are Democrat. Viewers advocating for stimulus are Republican and Democrat. They are in red states like Texas and Florida, and they're in blue states like California and New York, advocating for the same thing. You represent all Americans. And that is why they've never seen anything quite like this, where all Americans have stepped forward and advocated so passionately, so impressively, so professionally to Sanders, Warren, and Schumer, and over on the House side as well, for the inclusion of that stimulus. And now they're logging it and keeping track of those advocacy statements to show it to any detractor that may say, I don't know if they need it or not. I don't know if the Americans want it or not. Oh, yeah, they do. Here are the thousands and thousands of phone calls from those LA viewers because of that kid recording those LA videos. It's consistent with a little bit like a comment that came in over the weekend from a pollster. And that pollster, ironically, is from a former senator. And that pollster, Tolchin, his name is Ben Tolchin, said that the way that Obama would have handled the situation is go to West Virginia, Kristen Sinema's state, for example, and say to the residents, do you want this money? Oh, you do? Well, tell your senator to get you the money. And that's why, if you're watching this video today and you are in West Virginia, please advocate. If you're in If you're in Arizona, please advocate. That's Joe Manchin and Chris Sinema states. If you've called before and you're from those states, please advocate. If you've called these elected officials before and you're in red states, call again and say, I'm calling on behalf of LA. I'm in this state. I'm in Texas. I'm in Florida. And this is why I need it. This is what's going on with my family. Because then they realize you're calling from states that maybe the senators say, our residents don't really want it. Oh, yeah, your residents do want it. Here are the phone calls from West Virginia, from Arizona, and from red states as well. And that's why you have become so important. Now let's go over that advocacy and what that advocacy looks like and what it's done for your stimulus check inclusion. It was 8 weeks ago where I said, pick up the phone and advocate for the inclusion of a monthly stimulus check, IRS, to this recon. And WR heard my message and picked up the phone, called Senator Chris Coons, Democrat, Delaware, Joe Biden's oldest confidant, advocated for it, and WR heard Chris Coons' staffer say, yes, it's going in there. 3 weeks ago, this channel really picked up. You saw this channel really change the game about 3 weeks ago. I was starting to deliver a lot of exclusives, a lot of breaking news. After something would happen, I'd give you a different story than even earlier in the day. And I delivered a lot of exclusives, like I told you the recon would be written on the House side. It was. It was written on the House Budget Subcommittee, led by the vice chair of the Progressive Caucus, Sheila Jackson, who I'm going over later in this video. And I told you the House would vote first. It will be. I told you the Senate would vote last. And I told you Bernie Sanders was critical to this equation. At the time, 3 weeks ago, Bernie Sanders said a critical quote. He said, unlike prior budget chairmen on the Senate side, I like to get out amongst the people when I'm doing a recon. I say, if you listen to those words, he's saying, I want to hear from you. Pick up the phone and advocate. And I said, do that. Brother Joshua did. Margaret did. And Gail and Lynn Glenn did. Picked up the phone and advocated to Bernie Sanders' office, and all three were told the inclusion is happening. What does advocacy look like? Advocacy involves telling your personal story of why you need something. We had another Margaret over the last week who said, I picked up the phone, I cried on the phone when I told my story. Another person said, I explained how I lost my husband. I've had 10 surgeries during the pandemic, and I've had to raise 2 teenage daughters on SSI and SSDI. That's not enough money. I need more money. That's advocacy. And that's what Brother Joshua did, advocating on behalf of himself and family, his church, and you, to Bernie Sanders' office 3 weeks ago. And they said yes. He's inserting $1,000 to $1,400, $1,300, 3 to 6 months. But he needs to hear from you. Every video in the last 3 weeks, I always make sure I say that sentence. Bernie Sanders' office said he needs to hear from you. Now we know why. Not because he needs to specifically hear from you, but he needs to hear from you so they can show it to other offices and say, listen, here's what Americans are asking for. And that is how advocacy snowballed on this channel. Let's look at some of the advocacy that came in, and it really picked up with Donnie. You met Donnie's wife early in this video. Well, here comes Donnie. And here's what Donnie wrote. You can see a series of screen grabs posted from the live chat of this video or private message on social media. I think Facebook is down, by the way, right in the last few minutes. I don't know if anyone knows. I think there's an outage, global outage on Facebook. Donnie writes, I called Bernie and his secretary said they're doing a forced stimulus check, and that's why I need it. My city needs it. My family needs it to progress. And they said they're doing it. Hurricane Tina writes, I called Bernie's office. They said they're putting a forced stimulus check in there. Carolyn writes, I called Bernie's office, told them people are losing their homes, and Sanders' office said they're doing a stimmy in there. Viewers continue to pick up the phone and advocate one after another, like Yaya and so many others. But then we understood the importance of making multiple calls in a given day. And that's what Will did. Will took it to another level when he called 3 Democratic senators all on the same day, and they all 3 said, yes, it's going in there. This is what they wrote, what Will wrote. I called Bernie, I called Chuck, I called Schumer, and all 3 secretaries confirmed it's going in there. Liz Warren's office said she's doing $1,400 to $2,000, 6 to 12 months. Lorica got Bob Casey's office on the phone, and she wrote their negotiations, I'm told, for the inclusion of that monthly stimulus check. The comments kept on coming on in. At that point, we had 1,000 viewers this channel being told the same message from those senators that it's going on in. Soon, Sanders, Warren, Casey, Schumer, and Wyden heard your advocacy, were impressed by your advocacy, noted your advocacy, and said, yes, it's going in there. At that point, I said, pick up the phone and call over to the House members. And boy, did you ever. Here is what Janice wrote. I called Jalapal, and they said, yes, 4 stimulus is going in there. I said, call Jalapal, Omar, Pelosi, AOC, and boy, did you do it. Here's Mark. This is what he wrote. I got off the phone with Pelosi's office. His staff told me there would be there would be a 4 stimulus check in the amount of $2,000 the first month, $1,000 thereafter, and that they're almost done negotiating it. That's the face of advocacy. And the advocacy continued all this last week, with 3 viewers getting the same confirmation last week from Sanders, from Chuck Schumer, AOC, Jalapal, and Omar. And there you go. So what did the president do to protect your recon? And why did he do it 3 times? And what did he do over the weekend? Let's go over what happened with the president, the protecting the recon, what happened over the weekend. I have comments from Schumer. I have comments from Sanders, AOC, Jalapal, and Sheila Jackson, which is perhaps the most important, the most informative quote you're going to see in this video. It's coming up right now. Let's understand where we were in July. In July, we had one bill. It had roads and bridges and recon in there together. But the moderate Democrats said, not doing it. You got to split them in half. So the president made a concession. I will split them in half if you agree they go on the same path together. They're voted at the same time. They're called for a vote at the same time. They land on my desk in the White House at the same time, and I'll sign them at the same time. The 2 items, your money, recon, and then the roads and bridges, also called infrastructure, bipartisan. Shortly thereafter, the moderate Democrats broke their promise. They immediately tried to just do the roads and bridges as a vote by itself and not do the recon. Elizabeth Warren called them out this week, saying, you know what, you're not keeping your promise. So did Bernie Sanders. The vote was set this last Thursday, for the roads and bridges, because the moderates had really ambushed Nancy Pelosi a month earlier, saying, call the vote, and she agreed to call it on Thursday. And what happened was that the progressives had met, and they had assured themselves there were at least 60 progressives in the House ready to vote down the roads and bridges. Nancy Pelosi only has a 3 Democrat lead in the House. She can't lose 3 votes. She was set to lose 60. The vote was set to be called at 9 p.m., then at 10 o'clock, and never happened on a Thursday night. Vote never called because the progressives were able to protect your recon and block the vote on the roads and bridges. Friday morning, we were woken to the news that the vote was going to happen again. It didn't happen. The progressives won again, as I reported and predicted. They were not going to support the roads and bridges. They blocked it the second time. Then the president called the Democratic senators and House members into meetings Friday, and he said very clearly, I told Pelosi not to call the vote because there is no support from the progressives for the roads and bridges. So guess what? There will be, this is the president talking, there will be no vote on the roads and bridges at all until I say so, and until there's an agreement on the recon. That was what he emphatically said. So you may have seen that comment from Pelosi on Saturday, which certainly a lot of people got confused about. She issued a statement that looked like she was calling a vote on the roads and bridges by Halloween. Well, immediately the White House walked it back. The White House on the South Lawn, the president himself said, there is no vote set, and there will be no vote set until we have an agreement on the recon. I don't care what that message said. It was misconstrued. Then, on Sunday, the president dispatched his cabinet members to appear on talk radio, on morning news, to say, there is no vote. So make understand, there is no date set for the vote on the roads and bridges. That's what Cedric Richmond said Sunday. We don't have a time frame on it. Then came Bernie Sanders. He appeared in another conversation. He said, there absolutely is no date set, and we will get it done. Jalapal and AOC then appeared on broadcast media to talk about the substance of the recon. And Jalapal said that the president told Jalapal not to focus on the number, but to focus on the programs. Get agreement on the programs, the loaves of bread. And then she was asked, well, would you ever do 1.5 trillion? Absolutely not. AOC said much the same thing in her interview later that day. So it was, however, the quote or the interview that happened with Sheila Jackson, which was the most helpful interview we've seen this entire last week. Who is Sheila Jackson? You may have never heard of her on this channel before. She's the vice chairman of the Progressive Caucus. She's a House member. And she's the person who is the chief writer of the recon that passed. She appeared on broadcast media and explained how the recon is set up. She said, the recon is a series of programs, which I like to refer to as a loaf. Well, you've seen those programs because I detailed them on this channel. The 15% for the bike, the $4,000 for the senior to care for the elderly person at home per year, the paid family leave, the paid medical leave. You've seen each of these programs, the weatherizing your home, the home repairs in the low-income community. Each of these is a program. So what did she say about this, Sheila Jackson? She said 100% guaranteed, no program will get removed. Second, no program will get reduced. And that's when she used the expression a loaf. She said they're each loaves, and we're not going to do a half loaf. We're not going to do half of the program. We're going to do the full program. So where does the change happen? Let me show you how they make changes. Let's use the 15% for the bike. The 15% for the bike will stay the 15% for the bike. But what will change is how they pay for that bike with corporate taxes and billionaire rich taxes. They're going to modify that so that the pay for the 15% bike will get changed. Make it even simpler. The 15% bike will not go to 10% for the bike or 5% for the bike. The $4,000 for seniors will not go to $2,000 for seniors. Rather, how they pay for that program, that loaf, on the back end will get changed. There you go. Very, very simple. Now, here's another thing to understand, and this is very important, is that Bernie Sanders went into those negotiations for that recon back in July. He asked for $7 trillion. He agreed to $3.5 trillion, saying, I got exactly what I wanted, funded 100%. But wait a second. How do you get everything funded 100% if you got 3.5 but you wanted 7? Here's how it worked. 3.5 is half the number of 7. Sanders went to those meetings asking for, example, $10 for program number 1, paid per year. He got out of the meeting with $10 paid for that program per year. But how did he do it? He shortened the time horizon. So, for example, instead of paying $10 per year over 20 years, it's $10 per year over 10 years. Let's use the bike, for example. He went into those negotiations. He didn't ask for 30% for the bike and then agreed to 15% for the bike. No. He said, for example, 15% for the bike for 20 years and then agreed to do 15% of the bike for 10 years. That's how he did it. The program's still paying exactly the same amount, still a full 100%, still the whole program, just doing it over a shorter time horizon. For example, if you wanted the 15% for the bike, you would get that bike in sometime in the next 8-9 years before 10 years runs out. He had gone into the meeting asking, you can get the bike anywhere in the next 20 years. So this is all the same for you. This is why this is great news. So to recap what Jalapal and Sheila Jackson's comments collectively say, and this is why it's important to understand Sheila Jackson's comments, is that nothing, nada, no program in that recon that passed $3.5 trillion 2 weeks ago is getting removed. Nothing is getting removed. And in fact, stuff can be added. Nothing is getting reduced either, so that instead of $4,000 to care for the elderly, it's not going to get reduced. It's still going to say $4,000. What's getting changed is the back end. That doesn't really even concern you. It's the corporate tax code and the wealth tax code of how to pay for that. That's going to get changed on the back end. There you go. With that, let's go into some of the exciting details about third stimulus. And third stimulus is a big surprise because no one saw this really coming. Wow. Third stimulus getting this additional cash infusion for rent, utilities, food, and internet. Wow, this is a big one. And that $13 billion is now there. Get a pen, paper, cell phone ready. We're going to go over all these big sums of money right now. We're going to get this money. And it's important to understand that the rent has gone up 200%. The utilities has gone up 300%, and the SNAP has gone up even more. Let's look at some of the numbers in the last few weeks. Remember Mark? Here's Mark, $51,000 Mark. Well, the numbers have gone up. The rent was this and has now gone to $40,000. The utilities was this, has now gone to $15,000. And the SNAP was this, has now gone to $21,000. So how do you get this money? Get that pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to get the money for you right now. First, I'm going to show you 6 places. Reach out to all 6. Each has different eligibility. They have different pots of money. Number two, listen to the keywords I say in this video. And number three, get ready for those nonprofits. All right, here are the 6 places you reach out to. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you can say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. It's important to remember that as a member, hopefully you're a member, if you're not, the link is under the video, I now include in the newsletter the Treasury statement about that $13 billion. I want you to read it before you call up so you know what it is. When you call up, you say, have you gotten it? Can I be on the waiting list? Can I call tomorrow? They're all going to get it. They're all going to get the money, but it's not going to be there forever. Next, reach out to all utility companies. So if you have 5, reach out to 5. And then finally, the nonprofits. Wow. It's important to remember that the nonprofits pay for the same things the federal government does under third stimulus, but with different eligibility. So if you're having a real bad eligibility problem, then use the nonprofits. Here are the 5 nonprofits. They are United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. It's also important to remember that the nonprofits pay for items that are not in third stimulus, like, for example, sometimes clothing, food, homeless people in the shelters, and small appliances sometimes. 2 viewers have gotten refrigerators. 1 got a furnace and a new window fixed. And finally, the turnaround times are very fast. Here again are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, St. Vincent de Paul. Next, SNAP. SNAP is great. You get it from the Department of Agriculture. It's money for food. And your average benefits are going up in a lifetime, automatically, nationwide, an average of 25% this month. Yeah, I know, you got that letter in September, it's going down. Ignore it, because now they're going up, starting in October. Next, the big news is those unemployment benefits. First, the repayment of unemployment benefits from your state due to computer error. Those average payments are $2,000 to $5,000. Reach out to your state to track it. And then the refund check from IRS. That's for the 2020 return you pay taxes on. Average payment is anywhere from about $1,200 to $2,000. Mario got it, Kyle got it, Michael got it. If you got an 80 sums of money, post in the live chat right now. And finally, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? The link is under the video. Members are delivered daily from me to you, the newsletter, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube Alert and LALATE Alert system. It details all the big money under first, second, and third stimulus you can get. And what's important to understand is that I don't think this money's coming back under fourth stimulus. This money under third stimulus for rent and utilities, I don't think it's coming back. Rely upon that newsletter, and that's how viewers like Johnny got 80,000, Mark 51,000. Here are 3 promises I want you to make to yourself. Number 1, I want you to advocate. Pick up that phone and advocate. Say you're an LALATE viewer, say what state you're from. But before you make the phone call, think in your mind, what is unique about me? Why do I need this money? Think about your situation before you make the phone call. Think through what you're going to say, because maybe you're leaving a voicemail, maybe you're writing an email, maybe you're just leaving a message, or maybe you get someone on the phone. Think through, because that's what they were so impressed by, how professionally and well-spoken you were, and how you were able to express your thoughts so clearly. That's what they were logging, not just that they got a phone call, not that just someone called. That, listen, this person, this is what happened to them. You got to understand the significance of this phone call. Think about your situation before you make the phone call, and then call. LALATE viewer, and what state you're in. If you're a red state, if you're a blue state. If you're in Arizona, if you're in West Virginia, make that phone call. And call as many offices as you can. Bernie Sanders, Chuck Schumer, Liz Warren. Then call those House members. AOC, Sheila Jackson, new in the list, Jalapal, Omar. Make as many phone calls as you can, because they're talking about you. They want to help you. Second, get as much money as you can under third stimulus. Get as much money as you for rent and utilities as far into the future as you can, because I don't think that third stimulus rent money is going to be continued under fourth stimulus. Get as far as you can. Number 3, rely upon the nonprofits. Lean on the nonprofits. You know, it's still relatively warm in some states across the country. It's not winter yet. They're knocking a lot of calls. Viewers report incredible, wonderful turnaround times for rent approval from St. Vincent de Paul and United Way. That's because they're not getting swarmed yet. Make the calls now before the winter months come in and they get all those calls for heating oil, things like that. Finally, Also, if you need holiday gifts, rely on Salvation Army. They do it right about now. And with that, let's go into the recap as we go into a big afternoon. Afternoons LA, of course, is coming up in 1 o'clock. This video will automatically take you there at 1 o'clock. Here's what you need to know. Recon, big, passed. 3.5 trillion, passed. House subcommittee, led by Sheila Jackson, about a week ago. Lots of programs, 3 clusters, program, check, check, check. All those programs are staying in there, 100% guaranteed. No program is coming out. No loaf is coming out. Then, of each program, no program is going to be paying less money. That's not happening. If the program's paying, what I say on camera, $4,000 to care for the elderly per year, it's $4,000. It's not becoming $1,000. That's what Sheila Jackson also said emphatically clear. That's also what Jalapal said emphatically clear. How do they get it to modify it, though? They modify it on the back end with stuff that doesn't concern us. The taxes used to pay for the program. The taxes used to pay from the wealth or the corporations to pay for the programs. That's how they modify it. The president, meantime, messaging still loud and clear. No vote on the roads and bridges until there's agreement on the recon. Finally, this channel is now part of the equation. You're part of history once again. In fall of 2020, I made history as coming up with the idea to insert a stimulus check into a continuing resolution. At the time, called a bizarre idea, a ridiculous idea. All the trash talking came on in. I said, I don't care, put it in there. And we argued to push it and advocate for its inclusion, and we got it in there. Now this channel is about to make history once again. As Republicans and Democrats, progressives and moderates, red states and blue states, single and married, all different walks of life, all advocating for the same thing, all with very different stories, all showing the importance of this recon. Together as a family, we are pushing to get it over the finish line. And America is now taking notice of you. Those progressives in the House and Senate are taking notice of you. So step up and advocate. And with that, join me next on Afternoons LA starting at 1 o'clock. This video will automatically take you there. Then we go into 3 o'clock Afternoons LA thereafter. Then Evenings LA at 5. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers at YouTube reckon I want you part of this wonderful family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes. Don't forget to sign up for that LA newsletter. It's totally free under this video. And consider becoming a member. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP. Stay informed, stay focused, and stay with LA for more.